Why the no contact rule always works and the real reason you need it. Okay, this topic always gets so many questions, and it's an important one for anybody who is going through a breakup. Could be from a relationship, a situationship, trying to detach from a guy that just doesn't like you back, likes you, doesn't like you enough. The no contact rule is one of the most talked about and debated strategies when it comes to breakup. Does it work? Yes, always, but not for the reasons that you might think. So if you're here and you're wondering if going no contact is going to make your ex come running back, I want you to pause for a second because that's not the real power of no contact. The real power is what it does for you. I get so many messages of women being like, Sabrina, I've been no contact for 42 days, but like, where is he? If you're counting the days and wondering where is he, why isn't he coming running back, why isn't he showing up at my door with a bouquet of roses, you're doing it wrong. And I'm glad you're here right now because this is what you need to be listening to. You should not be Xing off days on a calendar, waiting a certain amount of time. That is the wrong way to do no contact. Because here's the truth. You don't want, first of all, like you don't want to get your ex back from a place of desperation. You don't want to get him back, win him over by being the same version of yourself that the relationship ended with. But the no contact rule, the biggest misconception is people think that okay, go no contact and then he'll miss me and he'll come back. That could be a byproduct, but that's not the goal. The goal is not about making him miss you. It's about making yourself so strong, self-assured, and magnetic that you're able to navigate and cultivate a healthy relationship, whether it's with your ex or whether it's with someone else. And at its core, it's getting to a place where you would be okay, as the title of our podcast states, whether he comes back or not. So it's not about waiting a certain amount of time without contacting them. It's what you're doing with that time. We're going to go deep into no contact. I'm going to answer all of your questions. I'm going to help you do this right. And the goal is to get you to a strong place because I know in the depths of my being how painful breakups are and how it feels like you are never going to get over this. You're never going to get out of it. You will. And this is the road that's going to take you there. Okay, so let's look at the science of the no contact rule and why it always works for you. The real power is what it does to your brain and to your nervous system and your ability to either get them back in a healthy way or fully move on. But again, the goal after a breakup should never be to get them back. It should be to move on. Now, it's possible you'll get them back, but that really cannot be your focus. It's not just about the relationship. It's about understanding why you feel addicted to this person, why you're obsessing, why breaking free and detaching feels so profoundly painful, and using the no contact rule to regulate your system so you can think clearly again. So we're going to get deep into why it works and why it has to be done. It has to be done on them and most importantly on you. Number one is you need to detox. You need to detox your brain and your nervous system because you are an addict. You are addicted to your ex. You're addicted to this person. Love is a biochemical addiction. When you fall for someone, your brain releases dopamine, which is the same chemical triggered by addictive drugs. Every text, every kiss, every moment of connection reinforce this reward system in your brain. And now that they're gone, your brain is in withdrawal, like any addict. This is why you literally crave them. This is why you feel an obsessive need to check their social media or text them, reach out to them. This is why you feel like you've lost a part of yourself, because like you kind of have. Your nervous system is completely dysregulated. The person who once made you feel so safe and seen and loved is gone, and your body is reacting like it's in danger. It's purely in survival mode here. The no contact rule is your reset button. And without it, you're just going to end up feeding into the addiction. You're going to keep checking their social media accounts. You're going to keep rereading the texts or sending casual check-in messages or wishing him happy birthday, wishing his dog happy birthday, letting him know that like it's National Avocado Day, like whatever it is. And anytime you do these things, you're just reinforcing the bond. No contact allows your brain and your nervous system to stabilize so you can stop acting out of withdrawal and start thinking clearly again. Number 2 is it forces the truth to surface. Right now, you don't have clarity. You have hope, you have confusion, and you have a million what ifs. You have a million questions swirling in your mind. Does he still love me? Does he miss me? Will he regret leaving? Should I try to reach out one more time? Was it my fault? Should I send him an apology note? But here's the thing. You shouldn't have to guess. If someone truly loves you and wants to be with you, because that's the thing, like chemistry, compatibility, those things are extremely important, but the most important is a desire to make it work. The overwhelming desire to be all in and to make it work. And sometimes this period of no contact will wake them up, and you'll know, because look, no relationship is perfect. Every relationship has its problems. I really feel so sure that I married my soulmate. I really do. I mean, our story was crazy. I did another episode on that. But still hard work. Doesn't mean that it's just going to be easy. Like, it doesn't mean we're just like floating along on a rainbow cloud here. Like, it still takes work. And the couples that last are the ones that are fully committed to doing the work, and they want to do it. They want to put in and nurture that relationship. So it's very possible that this time away will wake him up. No contact will bring clarity. It will bring the clarity to you and to him. And it might give him the space to realize that he does want to give this relationship another try. However, I do not recommend talking, being in touch at all. Even if he reaches out to you, we're going to talk about that at the end, until you've given yourself a decent amount of space, because you don't want to end up going back to someone who's all wrong for you. So you also just need that mental space for the clarity, and it could give him some clarity as well. Number 3, you gain perspective. Your brain can finally process reality. When you're emotionally overwhelmed, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain which is responsible for logic and decision making, shuts down. And if you're like under 25, your prefrontal cortex isn't even fully developed. So that's why I honestly feel like those early 20-something breakups are absolutely annihilate you, partially for this reason. But this is why heartbreak makes us so irrational. This is why you can't see the red flags you ignored. It's why you keep replaying the best moments instead of remembering why the relationship ended. No contact allows your emotional brain to calm down so your rational brain can take over again. And when this happens, you'll start to see patterns that you ignored. You'll recognize where you lost yourself in this relationship. And you might finally be able to ask, like, was this actually healthy, or was I just attached? So distance creates clarity, and clarity gives you power. Number 4, it helps you get over them by rewiring your nervous system. I know that you don't want to get over them right now. You just want them back. And the reason why we don't want to get over them is because the sadness is kind of all you have left. The sadness is all you have left of him. I see this a lot with my clients where, a lot of the time people come to me because they're going through a devastating breakup, and that kind of wakes them up to realizing they need to work on their attachment wounds or their anxiety or whatever it is. And they don't want to let go. Like, they want to almost hold on to the pain, the sadness, because they fear, like, well, what if I let go and I start moving on and then he comes back? And it's like, yeah, okay. And well, what if he comes back and then I've already moved on? Okay. And like, it's almost like you want to stay right there and keep the door open. But look, I mean, if this is your person, he comes back, like, you have to trust that that will work out as it's meant to, but you can never and should never put your life on hold. And this is a common misconception about me. You guys all seem to have this idea that, or a lot of you, not all of you, a lot of people are like, oh, so you just waited for your ex for 10 years? Are you kidding me? Have you not heard any of my other content? I obviously dated tons and tons of guys. Yeah, I had a preference for outcome. For those who have no idea what I'm talking about, me and my husband dated in high school. Over the span of 11 years, we would run into each other like every few years. He never had an interest in dating me. I always was desperately dying for him to ask me out again. Anyway, no, I was not waiting. Anytime he would resurface in my life and I would get my hopes up, then he would disappear again. I would just move on. Like I wasn't waiting, I wasn't plotting, I wasn't strategizing, I wasn't doing any of those things. Okay. In order to get them back in a healthy way, you have to be willing to lose them. And that starts with healing your nervous system. Right now, you are in fight or flight mode. Your body is acting like losing them is a threat to your survival, which makes sense because we're humans, we're wired for connection. And when we lose someone, our nervous system panics. Maybe because evolutionarily speaking, like losing members of your tribe put you in a very vulnerable position. No contact forces your body to adapt to life without them. And at first, it's going to feel awful. Like, I wish I had a magic pill. I wish there was a magic bullet. I wish there was something I could give you to make it less awful. It doesn't exist. Your body is going to fight it. It will, because just the same as a drug addict is going to fight not being on drugs. It doesn't mean that that he should just go back to them. That's not the right thing to do. You gotta the only way, what is that expression? The only way out is through. All right. You got to go through it. Slowly, the panic will settle, and slowly you will start to feel like yourself again. But this isn't just about time healing all wounds, because that's a myth. It's about actively giving your body and your brain the time to recalibrate and doing the right things and taking the right steps in order to get there. And once you've regulated, you'll be able to think clearly, and you might realize that you don't even want them back. Okay, number 5. Following no contact ends the toxic on again, off again cycle. Without no contact, you risk falling into that breakup limbo space. This is the space where you keep checking in, you meet up like just to talk, or you hook up like just for closure. And before you know it, you're stuck in this undefined, like non-relationship no man's land. None of the core issues get resolved, and instead you fall into this exhausting cycle. So you break up, you start missing each other, you get back together, or you start hanging out again. You're riding high on the reunion. It feels so good to be back with this person again. And then inevitably you realize why it didn't work. You break up again, repeat. It's such a toxic cycle, and it could go on for years. You need a clean break. You need space to process and to actually move on. Even if what you really want is to get them back, you might mistakenly believe that you'll have a better chance if you show up whenever he wants to see you. But the exact opposite is true. You're actually more likely to rekindle a healthy relationship by taking the time and the space to heal and fully move on. If your relationship ended, it ended for a reason, probably a lot of reasons. Relationships don't just fall apart out of nowhere. It's usually a buildup over time. And unless something significant changes, it's not going to work. What's going to be different this time? It doesn't matter how much you miss each other. It doesn't matter how much you love each other. That's not enough. If it didn't work, it's not going to work unless something significant changes. And change takes time, and change takes work. And you have to allow that space for those things to happen. Otherwise, you're just going to be cycling in this toxic loop. Number 6, it opens you up to something new, even if you're not ready now. Right now, your energy is blocked. You are still very much emotionally attached to your ex. You're still waiting. You're still hoping. You're still unavailable to new possibilities. And no contact clears that energy. Even if you're not ready to date, you'll still start seeing other options and possibilities. And maybe you realize your ex isn't the only person who can make you happy. And that realization can bring you freedom. When I was in the most toxic relationship of my entire life, I really need to do a whole episode on that one. I was 21 and it was a very unhealthy, codependent relationship. Turned out he was actually a narcissist. I didn't realize it at the time, even though I was a psychology major, and that semester I happened to be taking abnormal psych, and we happened to be learning about the cluster B personality disorders. So I was reading about narcissists in the textbooks. I was acing all my exams because I got an A+ in that class, and I still didn't even realize I was with a narcissist, which shows you how sneaky those mofos really are. Anyway, the relationship was not good, terrible, toxic, but I was desperately in love with him. And then he broke up with me. He went on this man's retreat type of thing, and he came back and he was cold and he was distant. He broke up with me. Obviously, I was devastated. I mean, I felt like I couldn't breathe unless this man was near me as my oxygen supply. But he ended it and he was like, we should go no contact. We should go, because I was just a wreck. He was a wreck. And he was like, we should go no contact for like at least 3 weeks. So I didn't want that, but I was like, okay, like 3 weeks. And then maybe like I'll get him back. The first week was hell on earth. I will never forget that week. It was just awful. I was so addicted to him. I was so dependent on him. And then the second week, this guy that I had known, we worked at a summer camp together when we were like 16 or 17 years old. Turned out that he was in Boston. That's where I went to college for law school. And he reached out to me and we started talking and then we like started hanging out. And even though I was not ready at all, I was so emotionally broken and so emotionally fragile at this point in time. Anyway, we start hanging out and we start dating. And I was like, this is so nice. Like, he's just normal and nice and he doesn't cut me down and it's not so complicated and heavy. And I was like, this is amazing. And I swear, it's like as soon as you're in that place, it's like a bat signal goes out to your ex. I remember I had come home after like hanging out with the new guy. I came home at like, I don't know, 4 a.m. or something. I don't know. I think I was just like trying to set boundaries. I was like, I don't want to sleep over. Anyway. And then the ex started blowing up my phone. And he just, if he wanted to talk to me, he would just call and call and call and call until it wore me down. So finally I answered and he was like, I need you. I'm depressed. I punched a wall. And he was a vulnerable narcissist. So he was the type that just made you, he manipulated through his victimhood. Like, I'm so depressed and you're the only person who can make me feel better. And because I was so codependent, I was like, well, I have to go save him. So at first I was like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm actually dating someone else right now. And then he was just distraught by that. He was like, what? How? And because I was still so raw, I folded. I completely folded and I allowed him back into my life. And all the progress that I had made, I don't even know how long it had been before he contacted me. I don't even think we made it to like a full month of no contact, was just undone. And then I didn't want to stop dating that new guy. So I was still dating him, even though the ex was back in the picture. And then it got to a point where I needed to make a choice. And because I was so raw and unhealed, I chose the ex. And it was the biggest mistake in my life because I got back together with him. The relationship was just as awful and toxic as before. Only when our time came to an end, because a narcissist will always use you up and spit you out when he's done, he cheated on me and left me for someone else. And it, not to be dramatic, it traumatized me. It rocked me to my core. It was the biggest betrayal I'd ever experienced in my life. My emotions I completely went numb, shut down. It took years and years and years to undo that damage. Anyway, that's a little story about no contact rule gone wrong. And I always wonder, like, what would have happened? What would my life have looked like if I stayed strong in no contact and didn't let him back in? Learn from my mistake. Don't be the same person. Don't do the same thing. Trust me. All right, number 7, it shifts the power dynamic. No more begging for attention. Your ex is used to you being there, available, waiting. And the moment you remove yourself, they feel that loss. Even if they don't react immediately, no contact forces them to face a world without you. They no longer have your validation, your emotional support, your presence. And when someone experiences loss, they start to question, did I make a mistake? I'm just clarifying what happens during no contact. I really don't want you thinking about your ex or what's going on in his head. More than anything, this will prevent you from making some of the most common post-breakup mistakes. And I feel like we've all been there. Begging for him to come back, which is just not a good look on anybody. Sending angry texts meant to hurt him, but really they just make you feel worse and you just have a complete emotional hangover the next day of why did I do that? Demanding explanations over and over, which just keeps the wound open and fresh. Rehashing the breakup before either of you has even had the emotional distance to see clearly. You say you want closure, but a lot of the time that's not really what we want. What we want is a continuation. We want the relationship to continue. We say we want closure, but we just want one last chance to see him face to face to plead our case. It stops you, hopefully, from drunk texting. I mean, I highly advise during no contact, if you're going to go out and drink, give your phone to one of your friends. It just is a recipe for disaster. And then you have that pit in your stomach regret the next day. It stops you from reacting to breadcrumbs like a hey or an Instagram like. When deep down you know it means nothing, but if you see him checking out your stories or commenting on anything you're doing, it just sets you back. And it stops you from falling into old patterns, the late night hookups, the on again, off again dynamic, the gray area situationship. It just leaves you so confused. Number 8, it gives you the space to rebuild your identity. When was the last time you focused on yourself? When a relationship is in decline, we don't focus on ourselves. We put all of our energy into the relationship and him and what's he thinking and how's he feeling. It's time to focus on you. And no contact gives you your time back. Use it. Work on your self-worth. Reconnect with your passions. Become someone you're excited to be. Because when you step into your most confident, grounded self, that's when you start, first of all, attracting just better options, probably even better than your ex. And also, you realize that you don't need anyone to complete you. You don't have to outsource your feelings of worth onto someone else. Number 9, it breaks the emotional dependency. If you feel like losing them was like losing a part of yourself, that is emotional dependency. And here's the truth. If a relationship makes you feel like you can't function without them, it wasn't a healthy relationship. No contact helps you break that dependency. And when you come out of it, you just feel a level of self-trust and confidence that you probably haven't felt in a really long time. And finally, number 10, which is related to number 9, it strengthens your emotional independence. One of the most important skills and one of the most important aspects of post-breakup growth is learning to self-soothe and meet your own emotional needs. And if you keep leaning on your ex, even if it's just for comfort or closure, you're reinforcing that emotional dependence. No contact helps you build the inner muscles of resilience. You learn to calm yourself, to validate your own feelings, to make yourself feel good, to care for yourself without looking to someone else to do this for you. It builds emotional independence, and that is the foundation of emotional maturity, and it's a foundation for a future healthy relationship, okay? Now let's do a little no contact Q&A to address some of the most common questions, the questions that I get anytime I cover this topic. The first is, well, what if he contacts me? So obviously, no contact rule. You're not contacting him. You're not reaching out to him. Ideally, you should mute, block, unfollow him from any social media platforms, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, anything. You just, even though it doesn't count as contact, it still reinforces that connection when you're checking in on him and seeing what he's up to. So we really want to eliminate that. Okay, so he jumped to you, but now he's the one reaching out to you. The truth is, it doesn't mean that he wants to get back together. So like, let's simmer it down. It means that he just wants to take the temperature. And if you were the one who was running pretty anxious in the relationship, maybe you acted a little bit desperate, needy, he's probably pretty shocked by the fact that he hasn't heard from you. And so he just wants to know like what you're up to. So he's texting you probably because he misses you. Maybe he's lonely. He still cares. He wants to know if you've moved on and you forgot about him. He might be bored. He might be nostalgic. He might be fishing for a little emotional comfort. But again, it doesn't mean that he wants to get back together unless he explicitly says that or shows that. And even still, you need to give it more time. Your job here is to draw the line. This is where you need to set a boundary. I know you want him back. And so if he reaches out to you, it feels like the greatest gift you ever could have asked for, but you don't want to get back into a relationship that's going to fail. And I guarantee you, I've been a relationship coach for 15 years. That's what's going to happen if you get back with him before you've had space to do any of the things that I talked about earlier. Dragging out the connection just delays your healing and it will keep you stuck. So if he texts you, here's your script. Hey, it's great hearing. Actually, no, not it's great hearing from you. Hey, I need space right now to focus on myself to move forward. I wish you well, but please don't contact me for the time being. Put whatever personal spin on this you want, and then that's it. No drama, no anger, no rehashing, just boundaries. Calm, clear boundaries. And trust me, you'll respect yourself more and he will respect you for being able to set these boundaries. Now, if he doesn't respect the boundaries, he keeps reaching out to you anyway. First of all, that shows you the kind of person that you're dealing with, and maybe we don't want to be dealing with someone like that. But that's the point where you need to block, because you set your boundary, and if he's not following it, he's just being selfish and he's just making life harder on you. The next question, how long should I go without no contact? Okay. So a lot of the other experts and coaches out there will say a month, 4 weeks, and that is typically what I say as well. But that's only because I want to make it palatable. And if I say something like 6 months, most people will be like, no way, I can never do that. We have to set a small, achievable goal for ourselves. There really is no one size fits all, but you have to at least give yourself 4 weeks. So 4 weeks isn't the max. This is the minimum here. Think of it as a detox, just like breaking a habit or withdrawing from anything that's part of your life. It's going to take time to reset. So at first, no contact will feel brutal. You're going to feel lost. You're going to feel empty. You're going to feel unsure about how to get through the day without that person. So I tell people aim for about a month because that feels mentally manageable. And if you really use that time to focus on yourself and reflect and heal and grow, you will feel an incredible shift in those 4 weeks. If you spend that time crying and obsessing over your ex and talking about it to your friends ad nauseum, that's probably going to drag out the healing a little bit. I usually say you want to stay no contact until you're feeling strong and confident and grounded. Until you know deep down that even if he decides he does not want to get back together with you, you'll be okay. You'll be fine. This will not be the end of the world to you. You'll be able to handle it. If you're still feeling desperate, if you're feeling panicked, if you're feeling like you cannot live without them, you're not ready. That's not love speaking, that's fear. And fear is not the energy you want to bring into any relationship, not with your ex, not with anything. So take this time to really come back to yourself. Next question, what if you can't avoid seeing him? Sometimes full no contact just isn't realistic. Maybe you work together, you go to the same school, maybe you live together, or maybe you share a child. In these cases, your goal is limited contact, not emotional entanglement, okay? Obviously, if you're in this situation, I get that it is much harder to do this, but we could deal with hard. Nothing wrong with hard, okay? Life is hard. So you want to only interact with him when absolutely necessary, and do not initiate any contact other than what's absolutely necessary. That means no text just to check in, no calls to see how he's doing, no casual small talk, chit chat, none of that. If you have a child together, keep your communication strictly about parenting logistics. Who's picking up who? What time is the birthday party? Like, that's it. Nothing more. Keep it brief. Keep it to the point. While it might not be possible to completely eliminate contact, you want to minimize emotional exposure. Keep the conversation short. Avoid personal topics. Hold your boundaries. And do not talk about the relationship at all. Do not try to make him jealous. None of that. The energy you want to give off is, I'm good, I've got this, I'm moving forward. Not cold, just pleasantly detached, right? That's what we want here. So, in conclusion, yes, the no contact rule can absolutely bring your ex back, but it only works if you focus on your healing and your growth and your well-being. You have to take control for what's under your control, and that's you. You have to abandon what's not under your control, and that's him. Okay. We've got it covered, no contact rule. If you are still having a really hard time, I highly recommend you check out my detachment course. I have a 3-part series all about detachment. We talk about detaching from an ex and just detachment in general, how to live a detached life. Detachment doesn't mean you're cold or uncaring. It means that you know your worth, you are anchored in your worth, and you don't need anybody to tell you so. That's really what it's about. Detachment and having high self-worth are pretty much interrelated. It's one and the same. You are living life not in the pursuit of validation or external clapping from other people. You are able to self-soothe and self-source. And when you do this, you become absolutely magnetic and radiant. So I will put a link to that in the show notes. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If so, please remember to give us a like, rate the episode, leave a review, and share with your friends. It helps me out so much. And this is your chance to really help someone else out. Breakups are so hard and they're so brutal, and they can really tear you down if you don't have the right tools to properly cope. All right, until next time, bye.